Hello, I'm Father Mitch Pacwa, and welcome to EWTN Live, where we bring you guests from around the world. And tonight on EWTN Live, we'll talk about how young Catholic professionals who are in the corporate world can make the most of their faith and career opportunities by becoming part of a spiritually minded and professionally ambitious faith-centered community. I have a great discussion about that. But first, I wanted to talk briefly with EWTN's Jim Pinto about a new opportunity to become a media missionary. Jim, what have you got going for us?
Always wonderful to be with you, Father. 14,600 strong now of EWTN media missionaries, going through the nook and crannies, kind of foot soldiers. Everybody puts on EWTN. You know what EWTN does. Goes out to 380 million people TV, but nobody sees these people, one-on-one, family members, in the parish, on staff in a parish, getting our materials, putting them out, putting them in the bulletins, what's going on, what's happening, being on college campuses, nursing homes, prisons, all over the place. We have our people. One of the key things we do is that we hold webinars every 3 months or so, 4 months or so, and so we have a gathering for about a half hour. And so we want people to register for that. You can just register, you just click that, you get on March 17th, it's a Thursday, St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
And so we gather together for about a half hour. Father Mark Mary's going to be with us, because our theme is Mother Angelica's legacy and media missionaries, how that connects. So he's going to be with us. He knew and loved Mother. He'll share for about 5 minutes or so, pray for everybody there. It's so intimate, it's so personal. And then we'll have Narissa Flores from Canada. She's our marketing manager there and oversees the media missionaries. And boy, I tell you, you want to talk about eroding religious liberty and freedom of speech and what's going on. But the media missionaries are standing strong. They're part of the solution, overcoming the problem. So we'll hear from her for a few minutes. The whole thing's like 30 minutes long. And give people an opportunity. This is the first webinar ever where we are inviting inquirers. So if you're saying, I don't know if I want to be a media missionary or not, this webinar, the first of its kind, is for you. So go to EWTN Media Missionaries and register there. Or give
it's EWTN missionaries.com.
Yeah, that's right. .com.
EWTNmissionaries.com, because that's where you can register to be
there.
part of this. How much does the webinar cost?
It's absolutely free.
That's a good price.
They can call as well, 205-795-5771. I know you give that number again.
Yes.
But they can call. We have people there now. And they'll always be there for the rest of their lives, ready to take your call. Okay. But if you do register and you make the event, we're going to give you for free the Mother Angelica Prayer for EWTN card. Yeah. Absolutely dynamic. We should give thanks and praise to God for all that He's done. And she says in the final verses, bestow upon this network the power to inspire men to seek holiness of heart, zeal for the extension of thy church, courage to seek after justice and human dignity, and the patience to endure persecution. May thy paternal blessing always rest upon us. So I'm inviting you, everybody out there, join us. You could become a media missionary tonight. Just call that number, go to the website. Or if you just say, I just want to register, I don't know if I want to be one, just come and be a part of the webinar.
And good day to do it on St. Patrick's Day.
Absolutely.
He was the great evangelist and missionary to Ireland.
There you go.
It's a good thing. Well, thank you.
Thank you
for letting
Father.
us know about that. And we'll continue on with our next guest in just a couple minutes, so please stay with us. Welcome back. We have a lot of young adults out there today, and they are beginning working careers after going to school for a lot of years and accumulating a lot of debt. They were living with their parents, and then they move out, and they have a lot of new freedoms when they do so. Sometimes they even have starting salaries that their parents could only have dreamed of. When I was a young man, my first salary was something like $7,000 a year. That's not much. Now it's a lot different. Sometimes that kind of success can make it easy for their faith life to take a back seat to their professional life. And if they still even acknowledge their faith at all, that's another issue, because now almost a third of U.S. adults consider themselves nones. They are religiously unaffiliated. However, there is a quickly growing apostolate that's reaching out to these young professionals to provide them with a local Catholic community where their faith and their own aspirations and hopes can thrive. Here to tell us more about the apostolate, which is called Young Catholic Professionals, YCP for short, please welcome Joe Griesbauer. Joe, welcome. Good to have you here with us.
Pleasure to be with you tonight, Father Mitch.
Where do you reside?
So right now I'm in Dallas, where
Texas.
Where YCP got started about 11 years ago.
Okay, so this is the hometown. Dallas has been the hometown for a number of very interesting apostolates, and this is just one more.
Yeah.
Well, good to have you here with us. Dallas has a warm place in my own heart.
It's quite warm.
Yeah, there's that. But I love Dallas. Who started this organization?
So about 11 years ago, it was Jennifer Baugh, and she had just finished her MBA and had I think a corporate consulting job lined up. And about 6 months between graduation and her job starting, and she was just there in Dallas, and a parishioner, I think, at one of the churches there downtown, and really had this longing to have a better community and friends, and was out of the college atmosphere where whether you went to a Catholic college like I did at the University of Dallas, or another state school like she did at Texas A&M, there's a lot of community there, especially when you're in a dorm or when you're in you have a Newman Center or something on your campus. That those go away. You turn 22, 24 or whatever, and you're out of college. That community that you've been a part of for 4 or 5 years is just gone, and you're kind of out on your own. And that's what she was feeling, and decided to start YCP.
Because one of the problems is that in college, you are around a lot of your peers.
Right.
Folks your own age are just surrounding you, and they're interested in you, you're interested in them, and all that. But when you get out, then it's another world, and finding those things, I think that it strikes me that that's part of the reason for so many of these different corporations trying to fix people up for dates.
Yeah.
Because there's not an easy way to find people your age to date, yet alone find other support.
Well, and then I think with my own experience, it's been, when I was graduating, I did a job right out of college, and then I came back. I finished my MBA during the pandemic. And so I was taking classes from home. I was working from home. And, if I wasn't dating someone, I would have been very isolated, localized, I had no reason to go out of my house besides getting groceries, but I guess I could have ordered those too now.
Yeah.
And what's the incentive? What's the reason to go out into the community? And we hear that a lot. We hear a lot about people who are lonely, people who maybe have attended Mass their whole lives every Sunday, but they don't have a community at their parish. So the parish isn't very active, and since COVID, it's been very difficult to have a community there and build friendships.
Sure, sure. We have a clip that we're going to show about YCP. And fitting in, let's take a look at that for a second.
No matter where you are, there's a place for you at Young Catholic Professionals. I was one of those people that hadn't gone to Mass in literally over a decade. I showed up and it changed my life.
There's a bit of a cry for Young Catholic Professionals from the nation because there's a cry for a community of people who are going to strengthen me in my faith and create a bridge for me and my faith to my work, to my life.
It's been incredible to watch our ministry grow and reach so many people in such a short amount of time. Our aspirations are great with YCP. This type of movement can make a real difference in our society. We hope to expand internationally so we can reach many more young people. And so we're sincerely grateful for your support and your continued participation in this great effort. Thank you so much. Together we can make a real difference for the world and bring hope to many.
So here you've got a need
Yeah.
for young people who are isolated, and this is not just some sad, lonely hearts club. This is a serious issue because we're seeing people in high school and grammar school who are talking about or actually getting very depressed and even committing suicide. And this loneliness is not something that is insignificant.
Right.
What do you do for these young folks? This is the problem. What do you do for them?
Well, I think first what we do is we provide a community of friendship. You know, a lot of our events we build in networking. We have opportunities to meet people. We have happy hours, which are a great way to just come out. It's a casual environment, and you get to talk to people. And I think one of the appeals with some of our events is that in the corporate setting now, we have there's such a hostility, there's such an awareness of every little word that you're saying, has to be correct or in line with something. And I think a lot of young people, including myself, were, constantly thinking about, am I going to get some sort of backlash for the questions that I have? And so at YCP, it's an opportunity to have a beer with someone, sit down, and any questions you have about the faith, about anything, it's just a welcoming environment. And then from there, we offer a lot of different opportunities to grow spiritually. We have chaplains and the sacraments available at almost every event. Professionally, we have speakers that are just the highest caliber, executives who come in and can share about their Catholic faith. And from there, it just gives them a witness for how a life is to be lived in their setting. How are they supposed to deal with this kind of scenarios? How would someone, up at the top of their organization live out the Catholic faith and in a way that helps their company and helps evangelize? One
of the situations that I think is very important is providing, our Catholic faith gives us not only the 10 commandments as 10 very simple laws, but as Catholics, we have this 2,000-year-old tradition of reflecting on the meaning of those commandments in a wide variety of circumstances.
Yeah.
And it would seem to me that this is also important for negotiating lots of the moral challenges that come in business, for instance. How you deal with questions raised, for instance, by Pope Francis on, your relation to the environment, but also with previous popes, how you deal with the economy as a whole, your obligations to use the economy with more than just getting my career.
Right.
Wide variety of moral issues that come up on how you do business. Does that form any part of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one example would be one of my most moving or powerful experiences was at our previous conference, and we had a woman speaking there, Dina Dwyer Owens, and she shared her witness about her values and her core values that she developed for her organization based off of Christian virtues and how those virtues play into business scenarios like you're describing. It's very relevant. It's very inherent in human nature to live in accord with that. And her way of bringing them in was so powerful to me because, we're always taught that they're separate. You have a faith life and you have a work life. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about YCP is that, it shows that it can be integrated and it can be done in a powerful way, in a evangelizing way. And I'll go back to the beauty part. I think one of the keys to our success and the efficacy of the ministry is the beauty of work. And so I think it's rarely talked about because, it's all about production. It's all about salary. It's all about, what your outputs are. Whereas if we think about the real calling of man to work and joining in the creative acts of God in the work that we do, it's beautiful. God created man and creation beautiful, and we're cooperating in that work of creation. No matter how far removed we are, a banker, or lawyer, whatever, we're still, hopefully, and this is where the values come in, creating something good. And there's a beautifulness to that I think YCP helps bring out. And as Pope Francis and Pope Benedict and plenty of others in the new evangelization have said, that beauty is the best way to evangelize.
And it would be absolutely false to think that these businesses do separate values from business. They're not.
Right.
But they have a set of values very frequently at strong odds with our Catholic faith and Catholic morals. And as you mentioned earlier, the use of a politically correct club to beat you into submission or get rid of you is very much part of our contemporary scene.
Right.
I'd like to show another clip that we have from y'all about the importance of integrating our faith with the future of the business and our world. So let's take a quick look at that.
I think one of the great things about YCP is that we have the community aspect that comes from our networking events, and then we've also got people bearing witness to how the Lord is working in their lives at our executive speaker events.
And these speakers bring so much of their lives and the way they've lived out their Catholic faith that we don't find that anywhere else.
Take an even further look when you go to these panel discussions and you hear from professionals, but also the community, and it brings it all together. I think that's ultimately what YCP is about.
So many of us live such busy lives. I want to be able to recharge and go on a retreat, but I can't take 3-4 days off from work. But YCP offers us, a St. Joseph Saturday.
I can remember just being in adoration and just feeling like just an overwhelming sense of I didn't need to try and figure things out. Like God has a plan for me.
I don't think I'm just a better worker, but I'm a better daughter, a better friend, a better sister, a better wife one day, and mother because of YCP. It has impacted my life in every aspect that exists.
I started to go to events and start to feel like, oh, this is my community, right? Because we're all about the same thing.
this, I think, is an important aspect, that it's not just that we want to make sure you stay in the Catholic club, that our Catholicism is about this enrichment that actually will make for a better business than if you use a model that considers, say, the 10 Commandments irrelevant.
Right.
If thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not bear false witness become irrelevant in business, you eventually end up in prison.
Right. Right.
That's, you know, things going, and it may not be right away, but we see plenty of that in our news. That this is about a morality that really does make for better business, with maybe a few short-term misses of opportunities to steal or lie and cheat, but long-term business that lasts.
Right.
And that's important to learn how to integrate that.
Right. And I think it's very important when you consider the meaning and the purpose of why you're working. And that's another thing that these executive speakers that we have help us, you know, young people realize, is that I think oftentimes, you know, we're new on the scene, we're trying to get ahead. There's, you know, how can I get to the next, you know, appointment, the next level up? And I think that's where we often get stuck between, well, how can I do this? Well, if I did this a little bit under the table, I could get to the next step. Well, why are you here in this job? Gives a context for your place and your role in your working environment that says, you know, what you're doing has meaning. What you're doing is for the good of society. And you know, if it's not, and if that's not the role that you're in, well then, you know, that's a good sign to reflect on that and say, well, okay, I better get out of here. But if it is, you know, and you see that good, then having that context of, you know what, I'm going to practice perseverance. I'm going to practice patience. I'm going to, you know, work a little bit harder and do it the right way, and offer it up. So.
The other thing that strikes me about this is you are getting your peers, because you're a young man yourself, in your early 20s, and having your peers, and not just us old guys, you know, to talk. I mean, you listen to wisdom from folks who've been around a while,
Right.
but it's also finding a support in pursuing these virtues and moral issues and our relationship with Jesus Christ
Right.
in our professional lives. That's part of the support, it seems.
Yeah, and that's I think a very appealing aspect of it, that whether you're at a parish where you feel like you're the only young person, or whether you're, you know, involved in something, YCP, you know, it provides a community where if you're out of the habit of going to Mass, or you're struggling to do X, Y, and Z in your life, it's had an impact on me. It's because there's 20, 30, 40, 50 other people all around you that are all struggling with the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's one of the benefits of this community, is there's a shared mission, a shared goal. We're all working in witness for Christ.
And with that witness, it would strike me, I don't know from direct experience, but it would seem that there'd be the advantage of having peers your age, that you build up friendships.
Right.
That, you know, the friendships that we had in high school were very important, but oftentimes they're left behind because you go to different directions, but you will stay in you're more likely to stay in the city where you work and have these bonds of friendship that are not just sharing ideas, but the encouragement and love and support that friends give you.
Right, and that's a very powerful, I think, piece of community that human nature needs and is missing for, if not due to technology, due to the last 2 years. And there's a really powerful story of a young man. He came to Dallas, I think, for work, and a friend of a friend reached out to our director, Jennifer Baugh, and said, you need to go meet with Mike. He's going through some stuff and could use some guidance, some YCP. And so they go out to lunch, and as Jen's speaking with this guy, he suddenly gets really, really tense, and he's thinking about something. And so Jen's like, "Tell me what's going on. What's bothering you?" And he's like holding on to the chair or the table or something. And he's like, I just haven't been to Mass in like 9 months, and it's just terrifying to me. It was not the biggest. Faith wasn't the biggest part of my life, but it was kind of there. It was kind of guaranteed.
It was my environment.
It was the environment, right? And they never had to make a choice. And then with all the opportunities to not go to Mass these last 2 years, and to just stay at home, play it safe. Then that habit that was only hanging on by a string was gone, and he was like, I don't know if I'll have the strength to make it back. And we got him involved in YCP, invited him to a few events, and it was right as I was starting with YCP about 7 months ago that Jen got a call, and it was this guy, and he said, I just want to thank you so much. I've had an amazing time at YCP. I've got a group of about 5 guys, and we're just really good friends now. And I've been to the last 4 Sunday Masses in a row. I'm not going to ever stop again.
Yeah. My question then would be, how does a young person or a group of young people get this going in their town?
Yeah.
How do you do this?
Yeah, so we have 27 right now across the country, 27 chapters in different cities.
You have one here in Birmingham.
Not yet. Not yet.
We got to get it going.
It's coming soon. But yeah, it started in Dallas and spread from there. And there's a few different ways to get it started. You can reach out to us on our website, youngcatholicprofessionals.org. And there's, I think, a link down at the bottom on how to start a new chapter. But it takes a group, about 6 to 8 young guys like myself. And then we also do a local board as well to help support the chapter. And so when we can get those two pieces together, we help recruit, we help train, we get the approval of the bishop of the diocese, and then we will help you launch a chapter there, provide you with everything you need to run events, recruit speakers, retreats, and everything. And that's kind of how it gets started. It usually takes between 6 months, 9 months, something like that with recruiting and training. But we're on a mission to get to 50 chapters. So 23 more in the next 3 years.
We have a clip ready about the chapter that just got launched in Philadelphia. So let's take a look at that.
My name is Casey Brown, and I'm the president of YCP Philadelphia. Philly started a YCP chapter just because there was so much desire and hunger in the community among young adults for an organization like this that helps people combine their faith and their work. I just think back to how I felt 2 years ago when I was first starting my corporate job, and I just felt so alone. I felt alone and like I really didn't have a specific place in the church anymore, and that my work didn't really matter. And in getting to know young Catholic professionals, my whole perspective has completely changed. My job is still the same, but I feel so much more committed to my job and working in witness for Christ and serving others through my work. And that's just been pre-launch. So I'm so excited to see how much more I'm able to grow into that mission after this launch and for the rest of the year with our chapter.
All right. Now, one other question. It says young Catholic professionals.
That's right.
Young is very, very relative. I've been trying to see where I'm going to. I told myself when I would turn 40 that I'd stay middle-aged until I'm 70, and then I'd renegotiate. And so far in the negotiations, the folks who are older still won't let me play. You're too young. So the 80-year-olds don't want me hanging around with them anymore. So what do you mean by young?
So young, well, first of all, I'd say this. The young Catholic professionals are members, but we do have opportunities for mentoring, for speaking, for volunteering on our board, and a whole host of other opportunities for the more seasoned professionals and the executives. But the young Catholic professionals, the ones that we're ministering more directly to, and they can be anywhere. College graduates is the most common place, I think, that we find our young people, and then anywhere. It's more of a stage in life that I think predominantly single, but then as you get older, and it's a part of where you are in your career, where you are in your faith journey, and we're very open. Anywhere up to 40s, we'll take them.
Okay, all right. So it could be as old as the beginning of middle age, but you're looking at folks in their 20s and 30s.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, good. I just want to get that clear. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back and see if you have your own questions about this, so please stay with us. We are speaking with Joe Griesbauer about a very interesting new group of young Catholics called Young Catholic Professionals. And they are going to be having a national conference this year. Here in 2002, it'll be April 29th to May 1st. And St. Joseph the Worker Day. And it will be held in Frisco, Texas. Frisco is just north of Dallas, if you don't know that area. And if you want to find out more about the conference and the possibility of attending, you can contact them by the internet. It is youngcatholicprofessionals.org. youngcatholicprofessionals.org. Or if you prefer, you can call. And their number is 469-607-3090. So 469-607-3090. And you can get in contact with them and join them for this conference at the end of April and beginning of May. Now, we've talked about the hopeful impact of Catholic faith and morals on the business world, but I would suspect that there's also a reverse impact that being a good professional can also make you a better Catholic.
Yeah, and it also works for evangelization purposes too, because we offer a lot of professional development and mentorship through our programming, and that brings some of the people who may be interested more in the professional development, and then realize that their faith could play a bigger role in their lives. So I just want to share a quick story. I was at our Dallas chapter had a event, and an officer from Wingstop was speaking, and she was speaking and
Wingstop?
Wingstop. It's a fast food restaurant.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Where flavor gets its wings. I shouldn't do a commercial here, but Wingstop. And so she's speaking about their corporate values and things like that. And it was a great presentation. And one of the gentlemen in the crowd is just all ears. He's loving it. I got to meet him after the event. He was going back and forth multiple times in the line to ask her questions and things, and he was just having a blast. And so we kind of asked him, like, hey, is this your first time? Are you excited to be a part of YCP? And he's like, yeah, I just been here in Dallas for a little bit, and I've been trying to get more involved, and I'm in the franchise restaurant industry. And I saw that someone from Wingstop was speaking at Young Catholic Professionals, and I was like, well, I better go to this one because it's in my industry. I might as well show up. And I think he just loved it, had a great time. And so that's, I think, the unique combination that we have of both the professional life and then the spiritual life, where you come for either one or the other, and you always get both. You always get both. We stay at the intersection of faith and work, and the spiritual is included in our professional as well.
In developing one's professional abilities is kind of an exciting part of being in your 20s. I oftentimes described, from retrospect now, my 20s as a sort of an apprenticeship to adulthood.
Right.
There's a lot that you're learning. And when you're in your 30s, you're more like a journeyman adult. You start to get more of the responsibilities. And then if you do well in those other stages, 40s and 50s are really cool. That's when you get a chance to exercise so much more of what you learned in the mistakes and successes of your 20s and 30s. And that in itself is worth doing.
Yeah.
It's not that, going to business and being in this is just a way to live a good Catholic life. It has an interest of its own and a type of service that you can provide for folks through these businesses. And that's also a good element to see.
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of our members, our seasoned executives as mentors find so much value in, is that wherever their stage on their career is, they have a place and they have an impact that these seasoned executives can mentor, show the steps on how they got there, show the lessons they learned from their mistakes, and it's really beneficial. It's really rewarding. I've been blessed to meet so many good people in the Dallas area and then abroad as we're expanding, and it's so moving for me to see all these people who are successful, accomplished, and all this kind of stuff. But then they're very interested in what we're doing, and in young people, in passing that on to the next generation, and that's so inspiring. So I think that's a beautiful way in which the nature of Catholicism as a community, as a church, we provide for one another, and it's really manifested through ICP.
This is an important element, that wisdom and knowledge both are something that grow they both grow over time. You need time to develop wisdom, and there's a certain element that you, by knowing from experience, you can pass that on so people can learn from their own experience at in their time. And that's a great thing. And the other part of it that I formerly a professor and high school teacher, you don't lose knowledge by sharing it.
Right.
It only increases. That's
Right.
one of the more you share lots of knowledge, the more it increases. It doesn't diminish by giving it away. And that's something that is another part of this, I think.
That is one of the things that's, I like quoting. John Paul II may or may not have been the first to say it, but he was described as the law of the gift. And so as Director of Development for YCP, I do a lot with giving and a lot of our external relations and stuff, but the giving is really important to me, and the law of the gift goes as this: your spirit increases by the measure with which you give it away. That it's actually a multiplying effect. You know, you're not losing by giving, and it's better to give than receive, as we've been told. But the law of the gift is really key to me, and something I've only been starting to understand myself is this: your spirit increases the measure with which you give it away.
Yeah. And one other element too, that for anybody who does volunteer to be part of this young Catholic professionals, the more you teach something, the better you learn it. You know, that's another aspect. For yourself and maybe some of the people that you've met in these among young Catholic professionals, what do you think are some of the biggest hurdles to the faith, to living our Catholic faith and our Catholic morals? What's the most typical kind of hurdles, or what have you personally seen as a hurdle to overcome?
Yeah, I think personally, and then I think cultural pressure is something that we feel a lot. I think in the workplace, I've alluded to this before, but a pressure to act a certain way, to follow a certain code. You know, it's sort of unspoken, but it's there. That's quite relevant. But then there's also isolation that I've spoken about, and I felt quite strongly, you know, being removed from the Catholic community and culture that I was a part of. And thirdly, I'd say is that it's difficult when you're moving out of, you know, let's just say you went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, Catholic college, or anyway, or let's just say you've been raised Catholic, and the statistics are showing this, that it's disastrous for Catholics in their early 20s. That's when the faith becomes so difficult to hold on to, it seems. And that's about where 50% of people, 23 to 28, those 5 years, 50% of people fall away from the faith. And I think, at least personally, and then from speaking with a few people, it involves a very personal choice to continue on in the faith. You know, as a young single person in that environment, in the workaday world, you really have to choose it. It's not going to come easy. And for all these obstacles, some mentioned, some others out there, it really involves that personal choice, that decision to say, oh, I'm really going to be Catholic. I'm really going to live it out. And I think that's a really big hurdle that everyone at some point in their life, or if not, they've already done it, you know, has to choose to be Catholic and to live it live it faithfully. And so I think working witness for Christ, that's what we emphasize, is that I'm going to take this step. I'm going to work every day in witness for Christ.
One of the elements of that, I think, is that there's a certain hostility to faith in God in general in our society. As you mentioned earlier, for many people, faith in God is something that is separated from your work. It doesn't have a place on the job. It doesn't have a place in your politics and your recreation. That's just this other area, and keep it over there.
Right.
And that's one element. And then Catholicism in particular is, sometimes feared and targeted for opposition from forces in our secular society. And do you think that, am I just reading that into it, or is this something that really plays on the way a lot of young people react?
No, I think it definitely does, and I think earlier in one of those videos you shown, Casey Brown gave a very powerful testimony of how her work life and her faith life were seen as competing against each other, and that's I think a part of this is that they both need their time, to live a holy life and to work well. Especially as a young person, you're putting in the extra hours, you're doing the extra work. Well then, the faith life suffers, and so I think one of my recent realizations, and someone has pointed this out to me, is if you look at the life of Christ, he spent 10 times as much time working as he did preaching. That he worked for 30 years, and then he preached for 3. And so we all often think of evangelization as the last 3 years of Christ's life, the public years of his life. And what gives significance is, as young people, when Christ was our age, he was working. And that shows that there's a lot of importance in this call to work. There's a lot of meaning from it that maybe hard to unpack because we don't know anything about his life. St. Joseph, the worker, our patron, completely silent throughout the Gospels, but yet played such an important role in the life of Christ during those 30 years. So that's something I think is worth reflecting upon in our daily lives for all the viewers. Is if Christ valued it so much as to put 10 times the amount of time here on earth into work as he did into preaching, that gives some significance.
And a good number of the people he called as his disciples were working folks. Whether it would be the fisherman or St. Matthew the tax collector, and the other professions are not mentioned, but these were working folks that he called. And then I think it's very important to understand how he didn't try to destroy that professional background. He said, I will make you fishers of men. You're still going to be a fisherman.
Right.
But it's going to be for people's souls.
Right.
And he uses that professional background. And, it's something I was talking to some of my colleagues, that St. Matthew, the tax collector, writes the gospel like an accountant.
Yeah.
All right, you got your Sermon on the Mount over here. You got your miracles over here in this column. Here's your first preaching.
Yeah.
Here is your parable column. I look at it, he writes like an accountant. All these different things are in different columns, well organized and put into balance. But that, to me, indicates that the profession was not something that Christ destroys,
Right.
but he elevates.
Yeah. There's a saying, I'm not sure where it comes from, but I have it written down. Grace built upon nature. And that, like you're saying, it takes the strengths that we already have, and God works through those.
Yeah.
Takes the weaknesses that we have and works through those.
Yeah.
Like you're saying with the fishermen, I think it's a very powerful image when, I think it was this past Sunday's gospel, when Jesus tells the fishermen, to cast out into the deep. That's how he deepens their faith, is through their trade, their work, their daily life. They're in the midst of their struggles, fruitless night on the Sea of Galilee there, and Jesus is like, boom, now I'm going to teach you about faith. I'm going to invite you to go deeper through the very work that you do.
Yeah, and when I read that, I said, yeah, okay, the carpenter's telling me how to do my job. Okay. But I'll do it. And then, of course, it's the biggest catch of their life.
Yeah.
So this is the way it goes.
Yeah.
I want to, again, let people know that the website is youngcatholicprofessionals.org. youngcatholicprofessionals.org. And you can call to find out more by calling 469-607-3090. 469-607-3090. Or also go to national@youngcatholicprofessionals.org. And that will be to find out more about the national conference and sign up for it on April 29th to May 1st. So that's a pretty time in Dallas, by the way. It's real pleasant there. So hopefully you'll join that.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to join us and tell us about this apostolate. Appreciate it very much. And thank you all for being with us. May the Lord bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you. May he lead you in all of your ways by his peace. May God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
And remember that Mother was inspired to start this network so that it would be brought to you by you. So please keep us in between your gas bill, electric bill, and cable bill, and we'll pay our bills too. Thank you.